Okay, guys, I'm going to finish up here with a look at the dollar to the Canadian dollar, the US dollar, I should say. You guys were kind of spread all over the place, but I think there's a trade. I've been sort of stalking this trade, as often the case when you're trading these longer term setups in FX. You got to wait for them. You got to be patient here. Now, I've been sort of stalking this trade for some time. We've been through this count multiple times, so the major wave count hasn't changed much, but we are now approaching what may be just an ideal setup. Now, one thing to note here, the Canadian dollar, one of the reasons I like it, it trades with remarkable technical precision. I mean, it is just algo driven like you can't believe. So we can go back here to the 11 lows here, just quick review, and so we can very hard to miss that impulse, right? And just as hard to miss the 3. So you look there and you go, oh, wonder why it stops there. All right, I want to get 50 to the tick, right? So that's like, shit. I mean, it literally looks like you photoshopped it. It's that perfect. Just big 5, 3 to the 50. It doesn't get any better than that, right? I mean, this is remarkable precision. If I recall, this was good as well. All right, so here it looks like it's a slight front run on the golden. So do you see what happens here? Do you see where they start at the 50 and then they try to push it down, but they likely run in? I guarantee what happened here. So they run into the algo on the other side. All right, so look here. All right, so they come down to this 50. You see how it's just a battle between two 50s? Eventually, this kicks up. It's interesting because it's a bit of a question mark as to what happens here. Likely, this is a front run. So you have, do you see? Well, let's see. Maybe you can see this better. I zoom in here. So you have this algorithm here, right, that bought it here, trying to go after that. You just see the green is right on top of the 618. And then you have this algorithm that started selling here. Do you see it? They start selling here. They run into this one. They start at the 50, just like this one here at the 50. They run into the other side. So this algo actually wins the day, but neither algo actually loses here. So it's interesting. We never know who's behind him or who it is. But this guy, if that's a front run on the target, he gets what he's after. And this guy who's defending here, well, guy, I shouldn't say guy, this entity that started selling here doesn't have to take the stop. And ultimately, look where we go. Right, so it looks to me like this, whoever is behind this algorithm here at the golden zone here, which is after this target, what do? They run into the 50. So do you see how they just battle it out back and forth between themselves? Shit, we don't know who it is, hedge funds, banks, right? I mean, but these are the big whales in here, right? Making those kind of things happen, right? This takes a... Right, we know that's whale driven here, but it's what we can do is we can see what the algorithms are doing because they leave footprints, right? So we can just walk through and say, oh, what'd they do here? What'd they do there? Right, so we can see exactly what happened here. So you're looking here and go, why doesn't it make it to target? Right, here's why. Right? It runs into this guy, right to the tick. So they deny it. Now these guys have a target up. Well, let's declutter this a little bit here so we don't lose track of who's on what side. Okay, so you can kind of see that sequence here. It's very obvious here. We've been through this chart several times. Okay, so you still actually have this algorithm has not been stopped out. The sellers here, right, have not been stopped out. Right, they have the lower target. Let's pull back here so we can put it all in context. All right, so this line here of this 618 here, this golden zone here, is still in play. They have not broken the 65. Still going to be selling resistance. They've got a target down here, right? So they were denied here. So likely, since the 65 hasn't been broken, that's still a factor, right? It's possible here that they was a front run. That's a pretty big front run. I'm on a daily chart. So it looks small to your eye, but in terms of the distance, what are we at? The 1205. The target was at 119. Yes, I mean it's a full point. It could be a front run. It's hard to know, but we know there's likely still selling resistance until that 65 breaks from the top. Now we should also consider here. All right, so now that's what I meant to do, because so here you're looking at tick. Do you see how they're still in play? Now let's dial it in. Swing high to swing low. All right, so this is a pattern that I talk to you guys. I mention it all the time. Come here, God damn it, here. All right, so alternating pivots, right? Look what happens at the 50, reaction. Now, look what happens at the golden zone, another reaction. Now, what's happening here, right? So do you see there's another algo here? So this is just a big algo fight. They're just back and forth, back and forth. Who's going to control the day? Well, we don't know. All we're trying to do is not run into them. So, for example, if you're thinking, oh, they broke here, you wouldn't want to be a buyer right there, right? Thinking, oh, breakout. No, you have to know that's there, guys. Have to. You have to know where they are. Or you'll buy right into it or sell right into it, and you'll just get absolutely obliterated. Not that they don't break, right? Of course they break, or we just go sideways indefinitely. One side always wins. Right now, out here at this degree, as we look at the daily chart, we are just stuck between a series of algos. All right, so here's the midsection, these guys battling it out, and then you have the lower section down here battling it out from the 50. So this is just a big range being driven by these algorithms. All right, now how can we take advantage of this? Well, we can. So putting an Elliott count on it, you can see, whoa, this just fits in perfectly. So here's my A, B, C. I've got 5 going up right to the golden zone. Can't be any more technically precise. So who's got the advantage here? Well, here's where the Elliott wave can be helpful to us. So we can, as we apply the Elliott count, we can see, well, A, B, C right to a 50. I've got a motive wave coming off the low. I get just a beautiful diagonal, just absolutely textbook, right in the channel. And where does it stop? Right at the golden zone. Down we come. So now the Elliott here, it's interesting. So I've done 2 videos today. One, a good example of where the Elliott is not helping. In fact, it's hurting. And then one here where the Elliott is keeping you on the right side of the market, at least in the shorter term. So per the larger degree, with the 5 up and the 3 down, it would imply that what's currently happening here is the 1, 2 before we go up and challenge those highs, right? Breaking that resistance, right? So we got to break through the wave 1 high, if we're going to get a 3 here, but that breaks the sell side resistance, right? So if we can get through this 65, then you lose all that sell side algo pressure. All right, let's here. I'm going to take some of this off here, right? It's just since I think we've been through that enough here. Let me just clear it up here, and we'll go down to the lower degree count. See if we can make sense with it. So on the assumption that we're correctly identified here in the 5 down, right, I'm still on the daily. The A, B, really clear 5 down right to the 50, to the tick, by the way. Pops off of that with just a gorgeous diagonal. Oh, and it's, by the way, perfectly technical. Remember, in a diagonal, it's the start of the 1 through the pivot of the 3, right? We've looked at that before, right? Do you see it here? So here we go from here, it goes right to the algo target, right? You think they're algo driven in here? Boom, that's the reaction. It's really, it's just amazing, right? So there we go. All right, so I don't know how anyone trades not knowing that. I literally, you're just absolutely blind to what's actually happening if you don't know about that. All right, so if you're watching, now you know. If you're a member, well, that's where we start. Okay, so now looking here, so per the Elliott count, this would imply that I'm in the process of putting in the correction of this leading diagonal, right? So is there any reason at this point to anticipate anything other than something that would be algo driven here? So the reason I'm waiting for this, I'm waiting for that 50, and you can see I have an alert right here, right? I've had that on forever. I'm waiting for this to get to that 50, right? That's buy all day for me. Now, let's go down to the 3 hour. I like the 3 hour, prefer to the 4, just because everybody else uses the 4. Okay, so looking at that, we know, so let me tighten this up. We know this was perfectly technical, right? It hit that algo target to the tick and completes the 5th of that leading diagonal. All right, well, the 1, 2 here in the A, you're going to have, I'm on a 3 out here. You're going to have to dig it out there. It is there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it looks like, oh, shit, let me go down. Maybe I can show it to you in the hourly. It's barely there. It's a small second. So you got to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? Gives us the first A wave. It's a little sloppy up here as this is typical FX action. Slop, slop, slop before it breaks. Then we get it. right, from the dominant here to the 3, and that's 38, but look what we do here. It's, again, it's to the tick, guys. It's just remarkable. Okay, so we got that. A, B, pardon me. It looks like we've got a flat here. So from that, it looks like I go A, right? I don't love the B, but you got to go A, B, C here, and then you got to finish this with a diagonal. Oh shit, I can't do it in a 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're looking for something technical. Right, so let's get it right on it. All right, so start of the, let me get right on there. Okay, start of the 1 wave through the pivot of the 3. Do you see what happens here? Yet again, golden zone to the tick, likely a front run. It's a little far. It was likely a front run here, and based on the reaction. So it gets up. We're just shy of getting to target, and then it falls over. Could have been news driven here. What's the date? That's May 31st, end of the month, and then boy, a straight rip down. So it would appear that you can finish this here as an A, B, and then we get an ending diagonal here. We get the diagonal into the C of the B before we head down. So if this is A, B, we're looking for 5 down, right? So you can see why I've got an alert here that's been there forever. I've been waiting for this thing to finish. So coming down here, now let's just finish on with it because it's just literally right by the book. Okay, 1, 2. All right, what are we looking at? From the dominant to the 1. What do we do? Well, in this case, point of control relative to visible range, but it's a slight front run off the golden zone, just perfect, right? So you wouldn't expect anything less, looking at how technically this trades. Now, look what happens. Boom. Little reaction, second target. You see they stutter here, they're taking profit, but it's got more legs, second target, clearly realized. Now we're right back to the first target. Interesting. So it sets up the potential here for the 1, 2, you'd have to give that the 3, so you got to pull your 1, 2 out of there. 3. Here's the sideways action of the 4, typical wave 4 action right here. All right, we get that little cluster and then drop it down for the 5. So this is setting up just beautifully. So if that's 3 is correctly identified and it is in, well, we're looking for some. Come here from the 2. Right, so clearly we're going to pay attention to that wave 1 pivot here. So right now it looks like this is going to finish. If it's going to finish this way, it's going to finish as an impulse, assuming we don't overlap here. Now, the only hesitation here is that the 5 of this 3 is a little wonky. So you can see we get very, very, very choppy. So it's 2 hour. Even if I go down 30-minute, it's tough to get this to finish down here. So let's see. You might have to do it back here. So let's see if we can finish this. All right. So within this, if this is 1, 2, 3, 5, shit, you'd have to do it. Can you get it here? This is slightly lower. Oh, man. That is, see this. This is slightly, oh boy, this is a tricky one. I think you'd have to go, oh shit, that is a tough one here. Let's dig in there. Do I have a 1, 2? So I'd have to go 1, 2. I'd have to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Now how am I getting a 5 out of that? Let's just put it down here so I can get it off my mouse. So let's get this. I guess this is our lowest low. We got to come all the way over here. So can I get a good 3 out of this? Let's get up a degree here, or let's just change that color. Okay, so I don't love the 5, I got to say. So you might have to reconsider this. So perhaps you can't get the 1, 2 there. You got an A, B, C here. So can you get a diagonal to finish this? I got to dig in there. So let's wick this off. See if that works. See, that's a 2, man. That's a tick off. So you'd have to do it this way. So you'd have to go, to finish this, you'd have to go 1, 2, 3. Jesus, that is yeah, you'd have to do it this way. 4, 5 to get that to finish. And then this has to go up a degree. Let's go to sub-minuet. And then this, let's go up a degree here so we don't lose track of it. Let's put that in yellow. Just now I got to pull out. All right. So tough to finish that. You know, and this, I'm kind of on the fly here. Let's just check if that's long enough here. This is a tricky finish down here. Yeah, it is. Okay, see, the 2 A, B, C is barely hanging on. It does not overlap, so you'd have to dig it there. So, I mean, it's spared by a tick. 1 A, B, C into the 2, A, B, C into the 3, A, B, C into the 4. Oh, geez, A, B, C into the 5. It's not gorgeous. No question about it here. So, but as we finish up here, we can get this in. It wouldn't keep me out of this trade. A, B. Now are we done? Let's put that. Oh, we can go here. Let's go to yellow. All right. So if that's going to be A, B, if we're going up for the C, well, let's start measuring for potential swing relationships. Get that dialed in a little bit. So there's the 1272, not uncommon, but this looks like it could very easily have one more little kick up from here. So now let's put that back together. Let's go back to the hourly here. So you're not, you know, here's the algo target here. So you see I have my alert on this. Here's the 50. So I want to see this come down lower is what I'm after here. I'm going to take you up even bigger and put you down 1. Let's change that. Go to white here. Okay, so 3. Ah, shit. No, I got to keep you a degree up. All right, it's easy to get lost if you don't alternate colors and degrees. You'll end up with 3 5s down here. If they're all the same color, the same degree, you won't know where the hell you are. Okay, so if this is 1, 2, here's really the trade that I'm after. I don't want it to break the 50 because we've just gone through all the examples of this setting up at the 50. So I want that algo action here. I want that. So you got 2 ways to look at this. One is we're setting up for the potential resolution of this 5 coming down here. Right, so this, if you can set these up, this is the, you know, this is what you traders dream about this, right? So if you were going to catch the short here, you're basically taking the short down to set up and look for the buy, but the buy zone is a little fatter than, you know, maybe you'd like, so you might have to, God damn it, come here, might have to ladder into this. What I don't want to see is the break of the 50 here, because now we're challenging the 1. Now I got to relabel and reconsider this whole count. I'm already struggling with that diagonal in the 5th. I mean, that is one squatty little diagonal. Man, it's, you know, you might be able to do it this way. 1A expanded B wave 2. So the extension's in the 1, 2, 3, gets an ABC there, but 3 will be longer than 5. So the 1 is the longest, but God, boy, that is ugly. I think that's more likely here rather than doing this as the 1. So it looks like 1, ABC into the 2, ABC into the 3. Jesus. ABC into the 4, and then that last little skinny 5. Essentially, you go into a double bottom, but you've had a pretty good rip off of this. So, for that to go that far, yeah, let's go back down there. It's a deep B, so we go well beyond the golden zone here, but we were kind of in between, so it's not bad for a B wave here, pretty much where you'd anticipate it, anywhere from the 50 to 786. So we hold here, and then the rip off of this going to the 272, we're just off of the second algo target. I'd rather get more clarity here than just this straight. I don't like the subdivision enough yet. So I don't see the buy here. What I'm waiting for is the push up here to confirm the 4. So I'm not a buyer here. Now, in the backdrop of all this, we have the Fed, right? So that's coming next week at the end of the month. Pardon me, at the end of the month. I think it's the last day of the month. So, the volatility that is likely to be around that is a note of caution, right? Everybody's got to deal with it. So you wouldn't want to be in anything of any significant size going into that. Should there be a surprise, right? At this point, the quarter point is essentially priced in. But if there's any surprise there or some change in the language in the post the decision, right? If we hear some of the context and some of the Fed, they'll be speaking, right? So we'll likely get some sense of how dovish or hawkish they're likely to be here. But right now, I love the sell here. I love the sell with a reasonable. I can sell this with a very tight stop because I don't want to see it turn into a diagonal. Oops. Right. So I can sell up here. Look at the risk reward here. So if I'm going into the short here, I'd likely start early, right? Start a little bit ahead of it. I mean, because this is just a wick pump, I'm going to give that a little cushion around it. Just the volatility that you can find in FX is particularly if we have some volatility with the Fed or anything else that might happen. Right. We've got plenty of tension in the backdrop here that could affect crude, which in turn would affect the Canadian dollar here. So if I can get this up, I like the short, but the short is really just setting up the bank shot of the buy. So if I pull all the way back out here, you can see there's a potential trading plan going in. So you've got the opportunity for the single. That's a nice looking single off of the short that sets up the buy. All right. So oh shit, let's go back to the. See if I can do it in 2 hour. All right, so can I come up here? Reasonable risk reward. So right there is over 10 to 1, right? With that stop placement, giving it a little quick. You see what I'm doing is all I'm doing is just taking this and then those little lows here. Actually, I might want to be just on the other side of that. So there's 8.2 to 1. Right, so I've got the possibility of the short driving me down here, good risk reward here, setting up for the buy here, and I'd likely start buying at the target. Remember, do you remember the pivot I showed you back here where the algo target was denied because of the 50? Well, here the 50 could easily be denied because of the algo target. So I would start 30% of what I wanted to buy here at the algo target here. Now, if that's the pivot, and we don't get to the 50, well then, understanding that, I would just look for the next opportunity to get long off of a higher low, right? If I can get that, then I know likely I've got the turn nailed and I'm off into the one wave at that degree. So, but ultimately, all I'm after here, what I'm trying to get, I guess that degree's got to go way up, is the big 2. I'm after the big 2 to put me into the 3. Right? So if we pull, let's try the 8 hour. So if we pull back on this, you see what I'm after here. Right, the A, B, C into the 2, I'm really ultimately after this, right? And that's just the first target. If this thing's really going to go, and we're going off of that 2, I got some big time upside targets here. If this plays this way, right? So long way to get you there, but if that's a 1 and I'm going to put this 2 in here at this 50, I also have this structure here. Some of these wicks that I just tagged here just to kind of support that idea here. You can see they seem to be that area seems to be significant here. We're right, so this is visible range, but you can see right on the edge of the value area. That's just where you might anticipate it here. That's a big trade. And then last, right, the frosting. If and I don't know, right, but if I get that. Going after the 3, well, that's their second target. What are we looking at there? If we can get it, right? These are worth waiting for, right? This can make your whole year, right? So how much room are you going to give that? Well, all right, this is where you want to. Your size is important, so I'd give it just below the 65. So there's 5 to 1. That's assuming we get Now you got to give it a little more room here because it could just as easily come down to the 618, unlike the sell where we actually have a better risk reward because the stop is tighter. If you're going to give this max room, you got to anticipate that you may be laddering on the way down here. So the last one would have the lowest amount of risk because you'd be buying at the golden zone, stop on the other side of 65. But so potentially now you could see this setting up into a golden corner, might push you down here. Something like that. Now the big three, right? This could be years out, right? Which makes this so hard to trade at this degree because it's very hard to stay long. You got the potential for that. Yeah, I can't do it. Try a 12. Right, all of that potentially setting up. Right, so you look at it and go, does that seem likely? Well, I promise you, if you try and outsmart the market, it's very hard to do. Right, usually you'll be wrong. Right, so technician will tell you all that matters is price. Market is always wrong. It's us who are wrong. Market is always right. Our interpretation of it is what's wrong. So all we can do is just have a trading plan, be disciplined about the risk management. And if it tees up, what are we really looking at here? If we're going to get a third there, well, there's 7-1 with a fairly good size stop. So you'd want to ladder in incrementally without overdoing the amount of risk that you're taking there. But technically, this is just beautiful. But the combination of how the Elliott count is fitting into the algo plays, well, that's the foundation of everything we teach. Right? Add the median lines, you're a trade devil. Okay, guys, talk to you.